Wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Welcome to SGK's.
Welcome to SGK.
Welcome to SGK's around the world.
Wherever you are.
And in whatever time zone you're in.
Welcome to SGK's around the world.
Welcome to SGK's around the world.
Welcome to SGK's around the world.
Seja bem-vindo a SGK around the world.
We hope you enjoy the session.
We hope you enjoy the session.
A gente espera que você curta a sessão.
We hope you enjoy the session.
Hi, I'm Dalziel from Marketing Strategy at SGK, and I'm here with Martin Stahel, Sales Director of Zappar, leading creators of AR, VR, and MR solutions, which he'll explain a lot more about in a moment. So we very much designed this session that we're having together today as an interactive session. So make sure you've got your smartphone handy. There's going to be lots of things to scan, and lots of things to interact with. So make sure you're ready for that. So how we're going to do things is Martin's going to take us through a few slides. He's going to talk about what AR is, how it performs, what it actually does, and show some applications of the great tools they have. And then he and I are going to have a little bit of a chat about kind of what's coming next. So I will share Martin's slides on the screen right now, let him introduce himself, and we'll get straight on with it. Thanks, Martin.
Great, thanks, John, and thanks for the invitation to come and join you. Hi, everybody, and as John mentioned, I'm Martin. I'm the sales director here at Zappar. And Zappar are a combined creative studio and AR platform. And when we were launched 10 years ago, our objective was to democratize AR, and that's to make it quick and cost-effective for our partners to create good quality AR content and then pipe it through to people, given these powerful bits of tech that we all own and keep close to us all the time. And if we jump onto the next slide, please, John. As John mentioned, we will take you through the what, the why, and the how of AR. So what is it? Why is it important? Why should brands care? And then show you how it works through some case studies and applications. And then we'll have a quick chat about what's coming next and how the industry is adopting it. So I think the best way to introduce you to the what is to really show you a live project, which is on the next slide. So this takes us back a couple of years to some work we did together on Fanta. And this was a brilliant campaign, brilliantly thought out campaign from the outset, because it wasn't just about AR. The key objective there was, how do we get the teen audience of Fanta off social media, off their bums and into stores to engage with and buy Fanta? So they connected with some social media influencers who promoted the teen takeover of Fanta through their social channels and also through above the line advertising in on paid media, as well as in cinemas, and then got the kids into store to buy the product. The user would scan the QR code, or as you are welcome to scan it with your native camera, to engage with loads of face filters. So in that time, they became social media influencers themselves. And during their time on the device and engaging with Fanta, they could also enter a competition. And the results were astounding. There was a double-digit growth in sales. There were hundreds of thousands of face filters shared on social. And they also found that because people were holding the product, there was some inbuilt trust in the brand. And they found so much greater level of opted-in data through the competition entries than they did from any of their other online competition mechanics. So John, if we step back and then we'll move forward after that. But to put it all into context, the reason why I think we as in Zappar and SGK work so closely together is I think we share this passion for packaging. And what we've seen in recent years is that packaging is no longer just an analog proposition. It's a really important media channel that is sat in your users' homes. It's on their kitchen tables. It's on their desks at work. It's in their bags. But until now, that product has been sat there silently, almost dormant. And as I like to jokingly say, it's an analog proposition in a mobile world. And through the power of the smartphone that we all own and the QR code, we can now turn that into a media channel that helps the brands tell a story, engage with the users, collect data, and ultimately sell more product. And what I suppose the whole packaging community is going through is this evolution of thought around how do we turn that packaging into a social media channel. And John, if we jump forward to, and there are lots of stats around why this is important. So firstly, we've done lots of neuroscience research around the power of AR compared to traditional media. And we've seen that compared to TV or online browsing, AR delivers a 45% increase in attention span. And then on the next slide, we also see that the user has an increase in emotional intensity. And because we as people learn through making emotional connections and also learn through doing, so tapping the screen and engaging with the content, that we see a significant spike in our memory retention. And that's really important when we're trying to engender some sort of behavioral change in our consumers. There are also lots of different research out there of why consumers are demanding change from their packaging. So for example, 66% of millennials are prepared to spend more on sustainable products. But finding out what is sustainable these days is really difficult. We have to embark on our own search through the internet, through brands' websites, whereas you can actually do that from the packet that's sat in my hand. Then, because the label on the majority of products are quite small, 78% of us want more information than appears on the pack, and 50% of us want to scan a product for more provenance information. And then our Gen Z friends, they want more brand experiences. They want more from their brand than just the consumption of the product. They want to feel part of a bigger community. And if we jump onto the next page, we'll then see that the guys at Shopify, through all the research that they've done, found that 94% of products with AR show a higher conversion rate when online. And 56% of their shoppers agree that AR gives them a greater confidence to buy the product quality. And we're seeing this increasingly happen, not just at physical retail, but also in the e-commerce environment. We can measure the impact of AR on your business in a number of ways. First, there's the standard Google Analytics type metrics that show us how many people scanned, their dwell time, what they did in the environment. But we can also see, if we work with your analysts to attribute a value back to the experience itself, the performance and the impact that AR has had on your business. And these are live but anonymized data from past experiences, which show that AR has increased sales by 15%. Lifetime value has increased. We've driven data capture or data collection, driven social media shares. And if you have your own app, there are great case studies around how AR has helped to drive downloads through your own applications. And moving on, while we're here to talk about the packaging itself, and we're all really passionate about the value that AR and or your packaging can drive for your business, it's also worth noting that AR can serve a purpose throughout the whole consumer journey, from that point of consideration where they're reading press or digital adverts or on social, at the point of purchase, whether this is on e-commerce sites or at physical retail. Of course, there's the on-pack piece when users are either stood at the fixture or back at home. But don't think of this as the end of the journey, because we can target people and communicate with them after that scanning moment, either through capturing their email address in the AR experience, or by dropping a cookie on the user's device and then targeting targeting them with those lovely adverts that follow us around after visiting specific retailers. So think of AR as the beginning of a conversation rather than the beginning and the end of the solution. And that's brought to life in the next slide, where we're working with the Nescafe team out of Mexico. And this campaign started off as an on-pack brief, but they realized that they could use the same AR experience throughout different platforms, not just on-pack, and then amplified the whole reach of the experience. And while the on-pack piece itself was tremendously successful over the 8-week campaign, you can see that they pumped it out through social media, paid search, and also digital display to increase the reach by over 70%, or 70% of the overall traffic came from those extra sources. So definitely think about AR as part of an omni-channel campaign. It's not just restricted to your packaging. And now we're into the fun bit. So get your phones back in hand. And over the next few slides, what I'll do is introduce you to 3 different case studies. One is around bringing to life recipes or product tutorials. The next is around gaming and how we add fun and rewards to the product experience. And then finally around talking about your sustainability or environmental credentials. Now, probably it's best during this period, if you want to scan the screen, I'll do a little bit of an intro, press pause, scan it, have a play, and then come back and press play again. The first product we're going to look at is Bombay Sapphire. And this might be a few years old, but it's still a really popular experience. And if you scan that QR code with your native camera and aim it at the label, then you'll see this moment of what we call surprise and delight. The animations coming out from around the bottle. And importantly, Bombay Sapphire wanted to teach us how to be more successful consumers of their product. So you'll see then 3 thumbnails on the label, and you'll tap on those to launch a recipe video. And this was a great test in the UK market, but we can overlay on top of this lots of different, I suppose, commercial value. We can ask people to share their creations on social media. We can ask them to register for a coupon or a voucher and link them off to a retailer as part of a data capture or sales driving initiative. But really lovely, and it makes use of content that Bombay Sapphire already owned, so utilizing their cocktail recipe archives. So let's jump on to the next slide, please. And in this case, this is all around fun. And it's some work we did with Nestle on the back of their cereal packs and amplified their promotion and license with Xbox and the game called Super Lucky. And if you scan that QR code, you bring to life Super Lucky and you'll place what we call a whack-a-mole type game on your table. And the objective of that game is to, with your finger, tap or whack all the baddies and then don't whack Super Lucky. And the objective is to get as many points as you can within the 30 seconds. But from a business point of view, this was around adding sustainable digital value to the back of cereal packs, rather than, in the good old days, we used to have the bits of plastic tat in the cereal box. And this is Nestle's answer to delivering play value around the cereal experience without having to buy plastic items, which is both expensive and unsustainable. And then finally, if we jump onto the last one, John, we go to our Australian wine brand, Banrock. And they do a lot of work on environmental projects around the world. And unfortunately, nobody knows about it. They do a lot of work, but it's very difficult unless you are determined to go and find it to learn about what they're doing. So what they've now created is a new global wine label. And when you scan that QR code that's shaped in the designed in the shape of a tree, you can then learn more about their sustainability and environmental projects around the world, everything from polar bears to otters to planting trees. and then also learn about what they're doing on their own ranch, and their vineyard called Banrock Station. And for me, this is, I think, a really exciting proposition because it just helps to amplify and bring to life the great work that they're doing behind the scenes. But the majority of consumers aren't predisposed to go and look that up. Hopefully, I've shown you what AR is, why it's important through all those stats, and then how it works through some of these case studies.
That was great, Martin. Thanks for that. Thanks for a really, I guess, compressed but comprehensive delve into the world of AR and some of the opportunities that are there, particularly in some of those statistics you have in there. Absolutely amazing. And the rate over even in recent years that the kind of penetration of AR has accelerated is really quite amazing. I guess and one of the reasons, so those of you watching, I left both Martin's and my own email addresses up there should you want to drop us a line and ask any questions once you've seen this. I think one of the pieces that's fascinating me is, Martin, really keen to kind of, if you don't mind sharing a little bit, of course, just a little bit of a think about what's next for AR. Some of these packaging applications are fantastic. And as you said, some of the, the Bombay Sapphire gym one's an absolute classic. Where's it going? Where's AR and VR and the mixed reality piece going over the next, I guess, 6, 12, 18, 24 months?
I think there's always lots of development on the technical side of things, and obviously Zappar has a very long roadmap of innovations that we are releasing for clearly sensitive commercial reasons. I won't go into those, but I think in terms of where is AR going, we tend to look at it in I suppose 3 distinct buckets. There's what we can do to improve the industry. So that's down to us to have a technical roadmap of innovations and how do we make it better, shinier, faster, lighter, and I suppose wow the audience more. Then there's a really interesting piece that is partly our responsibility, but also the industry itself, who are becoming more au fait with what AR is, and how they can, I suppose, cross the divide from it being a shiny new toy and a gimmick to actually delivering commercial value back to their business. And there, it's really interesting to see how AR is becoming more of an omni-channel or part of a bigger strategy rather than just a standalone piece of, hey, we're doing AR. And there are great case studies. I think one is Michelob Ultra, who are using AR as a way to onboard people from the retail environment and from their bottles and cans to their loyalty platform called mycooler.com. You stood at retail in the build up to the Super Bowl. You scan the QR code, which is headed up by one of their NFL ambassadors. You play an American football game, and the points that you win in that game, you can then transfer over to your mycooler account, and then you can win prizes and get discounts off future purchases. But it's that sort of integration that we're seeing really accelerate across the industry, of how AR can be used as a tool to drive other metrics, or how to integrate with other, I suppose, parts of the marketing tech stack. I mean, other examples come out of the US and the retail environment, very similarly with 7-Eleven, for example. They understood that their audience were, or their prime audience were males aged, 17 to 25, 17 to 30. And these guys were mainly driven by gaming. And so they're using AR as a way to drive what they call taps, trips, and transactions. So taps in their app, trips into store, and then the transactions is kind of self-explanatory. How do we get people to buy stuff? And in a very similar way, they're using AR to drive downloads of the app, whether it's through games in the app itself or point of sale at retail. You play a game, you share it on social, you earn points that you put into your rewards account, and they convert into club points or reward points. And so you can go get a few bucks off your shopping at till. And they found that there was a significant correlation between the increase in value of consumers who engaged with AR compared to those who didn't. So we've got Zappar's responsibility to have a strong roadmap of new stuff. We've got the industry itself knowing or coming up with new ways to integrate it into the tech stack and into their business. And then finally, I think importantly, with the packaging design community, and it's the call to action that we put on the packaging itself. Because although AR is a rapidly growing technology, people aren't actively out there looking for it on every single product. We have to specifically call out that AR content exists, put a code on pack, and give the user a really strong proposition for why they should scan. Because otherwise, if the code is small or it doesn't seem exciting, they won't scan.
Cool, great. That's super. It's kind of sounds to me very much like it's a collaborative piece as we see AR becoming more integral to the whole customer experience from those examples you described there, and it's the parties working together to make sure that experience is kind of seamless and actually is delivering real value back to the brand and the business. That's great. Martin, listen, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us and Around the World today. It's been great. It's been really enlightening for me as well. And hopefully we'll do something like this again soon, and that the audience enjoyed and found this interesting. Many thanks.
Fantastic, and thank you for the invitation.